pledge. Pledge. Ms. Saunders, roll call.
Councilmember Kimball?
Present.
Councilmember Only?
Present.
Councilmember Ruggiero?
Present.
Councilmember Schoen?
Present.
Mayor Pierce?
Present. Adoption of minutes.
Mayor, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes and adopt them as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Call the question.
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Only?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggiero?
Yes.
Councilmember Schoen?
Yes.
Mayor Pierce?
Yes. Communications.
There are no communications this evening.
Okay, we'll move on to privilege of the floor. If you have city business to discuss, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
My name's Stanley Camping. I live on 114 Franklin Street. It's a public square entrance. I'd like to bring it up that I'd like to commend the Department of Public Works for working with me when I've called them many times about sidewalks, brush over the sidewalks and stuff that needed to be repaired, some of the holes that were in the roads that I called them about that could have caused somebody to lose their life over. And the Department of Public Works came up at 1:30 in the morning and passed it. So I give them a lot of credit for what they've done. Also, the police department for helping us clear out the downtown section of Public Square from all the disasters that we had down there. Even though we still have some people who have been starting fires and breaking into some of the buildings down here, but the police are on top of that and trying to take care of that for us right now. So I give them credit for helping us clean it up down there. But second of all, Mr. Wagner, I love how you told the public that you were riding around with the police department just to see how they operate. Well, the investigations that I've heard, and I've been around the city talking to some of the homeless people, they said you were out there harassing them with the police officers. And 3 of the police officers from the goon squad that you rode with, not even faithful police officers, but goon squad officers, would go around harassing the homeless. I'd like for you to tell the public about that, when there's a lot of people in the public that know about it. Some of them brought it up to me, asked me about it. So be honest and truthful about it. Because you made the people homeless, and you don't want to do shit for them to help them get it.
Okay, we're not going to have that kind of language here, so if you could please keep it
I have the
respectful.
right to freedom of speech.
You do, but you don't have the right to use that type of language here, so please keep it respectful.
Okay. Well, the thing is you made the people homeless by condemning a lot of buildings and not giving them the opportunity to find a place of their own. And now you don't even want to help out with Mr. P.J. Tomatoes down there, where he offered the building to the city and the county to house them people for the wintertime. Where are they going to put their stuff? You're going to go around with DPW and take their stuff too? Since you gave them permission to go around and take their property as it is? I mean, what are you going to do about the homeless this winter? And those streets are not going to be open until springtime. Where are you going to house all the homeless that are out there? A lot of them are sleeping under tents and backyards and stuff with people, campers and everything else that they can find to sleep in to stay out of the weather. They can't do it over the winter time. So I hope you find a good place for yourself to cover up and stay comfortable for the winter yourself. Also, I'd like to bring it up to the city that there's been a lot of problems going on with city council with excessive complaining. It's time that we stop it. Mr. Kimball, you keep bringing it up saying, well, you don't care, you want it to be over with, but you keep bringing it up. How about we bring an ethics complaint against you and find out about your wrongdoings with the attorney here giving you advice on what to do? She has no right bringing anything up about ethics complaint whatsoever about Mr. Oney. She recused herself, her company was recused, and she's getting disbarred. Whether she likes it or not, she will be disbarred. Papers have been sent to the proper people that you can't even touch. Okay? Stop the bullshit.
Okay, sir,
That's it. I'm gonna say it one
you're,
last time. Stop it.
you're not gonna do that here.
That's not right. It's not right.
Please sit down.
No, but it is, buddy, relax. Listen, relax. Gentlemen, listen, relax. 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 I'm Christopher Kahn. I'm from Carthage, New York. And I came down here just to listen, but I'm going to speak now. I've been a sports official for 48 years at the highest level. I read body language for a living. Mr. Wagner, I know all my life. My senior class party was at Mr. Wagner's house. So this guy just spoke his crap. Mr. Wagner and me had discussions about homeless people on many occasions. I've offered some incentives to him, the whole thing. The PJ Samero thing, I agree. Probably the only thing I would agree with that guy, what he said. The guy's offering something to keep somebody warm. And I don't know what happens behind closed doors, because when you go behind closed doors, you guys talk freely between yourselves. When you come out here, you can't talk. I get it. Okay. But I go to the gym 4 o'clock every morning. I drive from Perrings, New York, up to Planet Fitness. I go down Huntington Street, Washington Street, Arsenal Street, and you see a lot of people pushing shopping carts at that time. And that's sad, really sad, okay? My question is this. Everybody wants to turn an eye and not look somebody into the eye. This is our problem, any way you look at it. I mean, it's how you handle it. Now, let me ask you one question. Has anybody ever talked to a homeless person? I do it all the time. Because a lot of times the veterans, a lot of times the drug addicts, a lot of times they just don't know. They lose something, they lose a job, broken relationships, they have no way to turn. And I just had a friend in Florida. I ref a lot of ball games with a guy from Maryland. And I'm upset about that, but I'm not going to get into that topic. Okay? I've donated half my life, and Eric will tell you, for Fort Drum, sporting, youth sports, stuff like that, where people can't afford to pay, we pay. But also I'm asking every one of you, this is the first time I came to a meeting, this is no crap, and I'm sure you should have Eric tell you. It's the first time every one of you guys had a smile on your face before the meeting started. You all talk to each other. That's what this place is doing, that's what the world is missing, nobody's talking. Everybody's pointing fingers and nobody's communicating. And I'm a sports official, and I learned a long time ago, I don't have to say a word, because I always have the last say. That's like you guys. You don't have to say a word, you have the last say. But the problem is that this homeless thing eats at me. I've seen the worst of the worst. Jackson, Mississippi, Skid Row. I've seen those places, I've been there. And it's sad to go in the middle of Watertown, wintertime, to see a kid sleeping, a person sleeping on a park bench with a burlap bag over the top. I did that, I can show you pictures of it. But I also want to commend, before I leave, I want to commend the Watertown Police Department. Yesterday, I was coming home from the doctors in Syracuse, and I went up Factory Street, that building there. This young girl homeless pulling something, I see a Watertown police car there. The guy had the window down, he was talking to me, tell the girl's frightened. So after the police car, in fact, I pulled over to Washington. And I went up, I'll talk to the lady afterwards. I asked her if she needed anything. She said she was hungry, so we got her something to eat for that. Okay. But I asked her what the cop was asking. We just checking her. That's all it took to put a smile on somebody's face. It was just a check. And I may not be the smartest person in the world, Miracle. I'll try. Trust me. Just communicate with somebody. Because that's all they need is somebody to talk to. And you guys have all the power in this community. Every one of you. You know, every morning when I blow a call, I have to look in the mirror and see if it's on ESPN. Because I make those calls. I'm asking you guys to make the right call. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Phelps, I live on the north side of Watertown. I'm here tonight for a couple of reasons. One, you stop and you ask a cop, how's your day going? They say just fine. You look at other counties and other cities and it's the same thing. Some people tell me that there's a big, big disconnect between the city, the homeless, and the police officers. You don't see that with the fire department. Fire department, they run into a building because that's what they've been trained to do. You don't see that with the police department. But a couple days ago, there was a news article that somebody, an officer, went into a burning building to try to save a 60-year-old man. I give kudos to that. Any officer that puts their life on the line to do that, they deserve more than just credit. Next thing, there is a big problem with the square. And that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This last Saturday or Friday, there was a big bar fight. Big. I've never seen anyone, a police officer or a sheriff, get out of their car and sprint to the Paddock Arcade. Never seen that. There needs to be more police presence down there because not only did I see that, I've seen probably about 19 to 20 people walk right in the street right where cars are, going, not even using the crosswalk, just using the street as their own personal vehicle. I've seen people not even use the crosswalk signs and almost get hit on the crosswalk from Cam's to the Woolworths building. That's a big problem. Somebody's gonna get killed at that intersection. Next thing, I just want to bring up the bus situation. I haven't done that in a while. They're actually running better than what it was supposed to be from what my last thing was. The only thing that we need to work on is the section that's in front of the courthouse. That needs to be re-examined. That needs to be from 1 lane to 2 lanes, and then your problems with the city bus will be going bye-bye. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Manager, Councilor, this is Clerk, my Street Chronicle, 35 Smith Street, Watertown. We got some changes on tonight's agenda that emanated from a work session I believe we had probably a month ago regarding city refuge. Well, anyways, in late August, I received my quarterly toll bill from the comptroller's office. I wrote a check and dropped it in deposited it in the drop box on September 3rd as I was heading the planning commission meeting. On about August 6th, I received another mail from the comptroller. I knew it was refuge and not waters that had the solid photos of the solid waste vehicles on the back. I had nothing that appeared to be duplicate. I checked online in my account and my check had cleared. I figured just a mix-up. I looked a little closer and I noticed a statement. Effective October 1, DPW will no longer issue refunds for early termination of service. I thought, that's another grandiose idea to make the city service more unfriendly to the users. I thought, they come up with another reason to say down the road the city service is not doing well. We think we should scrap it. Well, maybe. That idea was the first comment of scrapping it in a work session a year ago, right about now when I was in the court chambers. Council strongly rebuffed that recommendation. This past January, another ill-conceived notion went out to the people. Can't put bags in cans even though the trash may weigh only 10 pounds and only have a certain size. I get the bag size. Okay, now fast forward to tonight, and now we're going to pass an amendment to the charter, codes, or whatever, to make bags be put in approved containers. Make up someone's mind here, please. I watched that work session a couple of weeks ago, and there was a discussion that stated it would cost $25-30 to process a refund. It very well might.
Sir, if I could just interrupt for 1 second. We have a public hearing at 7:15, so we'll do the public hearing and then we'll come right back to you if that's okay. Thank you.
Please be advised, that under the provisions of 24 CFR 91.105E, a public hearing has been scheduled for Monday, September 15, 2025, at 7:15 p.m. in City Hall Council Chambers, 245 Washington Street, Watertown, New York, to solicit public comments on the city's draft program year 2024 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, for the city's Community Development Block Grant Program.
Okay, if you're here to speak on the Community Development Block Grant Program, please come to the microphone. Okay, seeing nobody, we will close that public hearing and return to privilege of the floor. Mr. Monaco?
Gotta kind of regroup my thoughts here, give me a second. Oh, so anyways, fast forward to tonight, now we're gonna pass an amendment to the charter code, however, to put things in a mixture of bags are in approved container. City manager, public works, please make up your collective minds. I watched the work session a couple weeks ago back when refuse was discussed. It was stated that it cost $25-30 to process a refuge tote refund. It is kind of a lot of paperwork, but it is. It is a bit of a paperwork process. Could it be simplified? Maybe. Now, if I had a 96 gallon tote and I had it, let's say for 3 weeks, and for whatever reason I had to discontinue service, I'd be damn straight mad that the city was keeping over $100 of my money when I had to move. I would think if the administration is bound and determined to do something in this realm, put a blank dollar service fee on it. Don't keep someone's money over what it costs you to process it. Council, at manager's recommendation, you've raised taxes 15%, raised water rates, and increased the totes and stickers in the last 2 years. Give the taxpayers a break for once. I challenge council. Stand up to the recommendation from people who do not participate in the service. They don't live in the city. I feel they're not in touch with the taxpayers of the city of Watertown. Thank you.
Thank you.
S.G. Gates, 157 Dorset Street. I've said before, my parents always raised me to do, it's not enough to live in a community, you gotta do stuff to make the community better. And that's all I've tried to do for the past 19 years here. With my daughter Mia, we started doing good things for the community. We raised money for the SPCA, we visited nursing homes, and we tried to get a dog park in the city. I wrote you a correspondence at the beginning of the summer saying, we gotta get this done one way or the other, and I heard nothing back, so I was just gonna go and hire a lawyer, but I figured, well, the public needs to know what you guys are up to, so I present this one more time, give you one more chance, because I said I like to do things for the community. To sue the community is really stupid to me. If you talk to most citizens, they're mad at council for the waste of legal fees that you just keep throwing out. This whole thing, the council on council war you had going while I was gone out west this winter. How much money did that cost the taxpayers? And how much money will a class action suit cost the taxpayer? How much money will you just for discovery to get this suit going? Is it going to cost you? It's not going to cost me because it's going to be a class action. But I don't want to do it. 2 weeks ago, the mayor was on the radio, or former mayor, Jeff Smith, and he's taunting me to go ahead and sue the city. And then he starts talking to me about Mia's books, that I haven't put Mia's books out yet. I have a fund set up at North Country Community Foundation. I put twice as much money as it was made for the Factory Street debacle thing. I donated up my own money. I was going to donate more when I got back if we were going to get this thing going. But, I'm waiting to see, if there's any cost for me on this suit or whatever. But Mia's book have to finish with the dog park. That's the first book is about everything she did in the dog park is the end of the book. And without that, I'm in a, just a cycle, I can't do anything with this. So, I've said 50% of the books are gonna go to this fund. And I go out to LA and Vegas all winter long, I can promote these books, and so this money's gonna go into an account for the community. For the animal, anything animal related, like feral cat problems, the dog park, whatever. And if it goes to lawsuit, the lawsuit, whatever we get from the lawsuit, will go into this fund and carry out what I've been trying to do for the community. And we said, if we can't get the ideal spot at the park, we will buy land in a 15-mile radius of the city, and I will build a whole complete park because, I want it to be safe. Dean Hayes picked out the Lookout as the most safe spot in the city for a dog park. And I've had to fight it ever since. Both incumbents said that lost this year, sorry, not be lost, but you both said you were for the dog park, you wouldn't stand in the way of the dog park, and then you did nothing to make it happen. 1/3 of the population are dog owners. If you spent $3 million, over $3 million on the golf course to make the park bigger than ever, you do the simple math, $1 million is on the dog owners. $1 million that money you spent on the golf course is on our heads to pay. And we still can't get a spot at the park. Now, Cliff Arts, as I say, or you can have a spot over by the zoo that's less safe. And he had told me for a year that the city would, I shouldn't have to collect the money the city would pay for it. I said, no, I said I would. So I'm over. But, lost my place. When we first started this, Watertown Golf Club and the zoo stopped. Then, when it was sold to a private individual, he stopped it.
Sir, excuse me, if you could wrap it up,
Yeah,
let's keep to 3
okay.
minutes, thank you.
Then a not-for-profit stood in the way.
You can certainly submit that in writing to us.
especially the city as a whole. The other thing, and the only other thing I need to say is construction of more housing, low-income housing, as you call it, isn't going to solve the problem that we have with the homeless or the needy. If anything, it'll probably exacerbate it, as it sounds like it already has. More people with this type of need will find their way here if they know that we have more low-income housing, or that we find ways to take what little that we have and filter it into the community of the low-income housing or the needy. Now, my qualifier is I volunteer everywhere. Most of the time through churches, pantries, places that put meals out, where the needy find clothes. So I want to take care of people, but I also want to take care of the community. And another low-income housing unit isn't going to solve the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. there anybody else who would like to speak? Okay, we'll move on to resolutions.
Resolution number 1, authorizing data processing service agreement between the City of Watertown and the Watertown City School District.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Call the question?
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Only?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggiero?
Yes.
Councilmember Schoen?
Yes.
Mayor Pierce?
Yes.
Resolution number 2, approving the funding approval agreement for the program year 2025 Community Development Block Grant Program.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Call the question?
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Only?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggiero?
Yes.
Councilmember Schoen?
Yes.
Mayor Pierce?
Yes.
Ordinance number 1, an ordinance amending the code of the City of Watertown, Chapter 301, Water, Section 301-4, costs of main to curb stop and fire services. Once this has been introduced and seconded, there'll need to be a motion for unanimous consent.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, call the question on unanimous consent?
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Only?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggiero?
Yes.
Councilmember Schoen?
Yes.
Mayor Pierce?
Yes. Okay, any discussion on the ordinance?
Yes. I have a question regarding the new charges. Is that the one we're? It's the one. That one, okay. I see down here on larger than 2-inch pipe that it says actual cost. So it came to my mind, I'm thinking to myself, these charges that are above there, the current charge and plus the new charge must be the cost. So we're not making money on this, it's just recovering costs.
Basically, yes, Council.
Okay. All right, so the question that was asked to me today was, don't you guys collect taxes on our property? Isn't that included when is this just for new installations or what? I mean, so the public would understand what this is for.
I missed the first part of your question.
Okay, so these charges are going up because of an increase in cost to do the work.
Right.
Okay. We have city employees.
And materials.
And materials. Right. Exactly. All right. So this is just related to,
It could be new construction, or it could be,
okay, all right.
it could be
that's
new
what it was.
construction, or it could be that we have to replace a lateral, a homeowner has to replace a lateral,
Gotcha.
and then we have to connect it again. And there may also, at some point, we're still looking at galvanized pipe and lead piping as well, so.
Okay, all right. That makes sense then. All right, thank you. That's all I got.
Any other discussion? Call the question?
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Only?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggiero?
Yes.
Councilmember Schoen?
Yes.
Mayor Pierce?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2, ordinance amending the code of the City of Watertown, Chapter 161, garbage, rubbish, and refuse. Once this has been introduced and seconded, there should be a motion for unanimous consent.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, call the question on unanimous consent?
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Only?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggiero?
Yes.
Councilmember Schoen?
Yes.
Mayor Pierce?
Yes. Okay, any discussion on the ordinance? Call the question?
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Only?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggiero?
Yes.
Councilmember Schoen?
Yes.
Mayor Pierce?
Yes.
That is all.
Okay, thank you. Council has in their packet a staff report regarding supplemental regulations for potential marijuana dispensaries within the city. As council has read in the memo, where these shops can be located in the future is outlined in our zoning. There are certain restrictions that New York State has placed on how these shops can operate. However, we have the opportunity to implement supplemental regulations in a variety of ways. So I believe the next step is staff is going to take a look and come up with some possible recommendations. The council can weigh in if you have any ideas or thoughts that you'd like to see implemented. I think it'd probably be a good idea for us to look and see what other communities in the North Country have done. But that's basically what that staff report says. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, Mr. Wagoner.
Well, Mayor, thank you for that. we are looking at other communities as well. And one of the ways we're also doing that is working with our attorneys who are providing us lessons learned from other communities as well that they've learned from the legal side of the house. So we're looking at every option here on how to best to make the best laws or ordinances overseeing these operations in the city.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will move on to new business.
New business. So amidst all the various broken pipes, et cetera, that I get notifications about, and our water crew and sewer crew are working diligently to address, we did at least get a notice, was it last Friday, that we did receive confirmation of an EPA grant for $1 million for the disinfectant byproduct project.
That is correct, Councilman. That is the congressionally directed spending that's worked through the EPA. After a lot of back and forth work and data calls, we finally got confirmation that $1 million is, I think it's in our bank account right now as we speak.
All right, hopefully earning lots of interest. So that's a good thing, but we have three major projects that we've discussed recently. $64 to $67 million for the disinfectant byproduct project. $29 million, I believe it was, for the Western Outfall Trunk Sewer upgrades, repairs, etc. And I forget the exact figure for the new reservoir, but I believe it was in the $20 to $25 million range. So we got $120 million worth of projects, not counting the $8 million for remodeling a portion of City Hall. So I think it was Friday that there were 3 other grant applications were submitted by staff, and I'm sure they diligently worked out all the details as best you can, but grants are all competitive. There's none of this free money laying around that you turn in your paperwork and they'll send you some. We're in competition with every other community in New York that has 75 to 100-year-old pipes that need their pipes replaced. And so we are hopeful that we are going to receive additional funding for these various projects, but all of these projects are necessary. And so some of them directed by the EPA or the health department. I think the health department is riding herd on the reservoir, requiring that we replace the reservoir or that we deal with the reservoir. And I think it was the EPA that's pushing the disinfectant byproduct project. So we're going to do due diligence to find as much money as we can from grants, but unfortunately, this will have some impact at whatever point this all takes place. Funding for these projects will go through either the water fund or the sewer fund, and so you won't see your general tax rate go up, but you are likely to see your water rate or your sewer rate go up. And I'm just being honest. I'm not gleeful about this. But people complain if we kick the can down the road, which they seem to say a lot. So there's a lot of cans that are being collected and put in the recycler right now that we have to deal with. And this is going to cost money. And hopefully we will come up with a significant amount to pay for that and be able to stretch it out over a long period of time so it won't hurt as much. Somebody complained to me about the ethics complaint and my indication that we should push forward with the ethics complaint. And I think people, you know, when I say the word ethics complaint, they get this gut feeling and they stop listening to what I'm saying because they've clearly misheard a lot of what I've said about this ethics complaint. I have never been out to get Mr. Olney. I have said it over and over, and now we're at a point where the reason to do the hearing is so that Mr. Olney can have his say. This is the way our system was designed for an ethics complaint. The ethics board reviews it. If they think there's a reason to look at it closer, there is a hearing before the city council. That is where Mr. Olney's due process lies, where he gets to hear the charges, he gets to argue the charges, he gets to present his point of view. Now, he's presented his point of view a lot on his Facebook page and press releases, you name it, he's presented his point of view. But the official answer to the question is, we have a hearing, and he gets to say and disagree with the charges that were brought against him. And I've never thought that there is going to be any reason to remove Mr. Olney from the council. I've read the complaint. I've read the information that was provided to us. I have, at points along the way, had it suggested to me that there is other evidence that we do not have. That was recently challenged again by somebody who thinks we don't. But the only way I know exactly what it was based on, and we get to hear his reply, is to have the hearing. That could take us a day, and in the end, we might just all say, there's nothing here. So stop saying I'm out to get Mr. Olney. All right? That wasn't my goal. My goal was to just finish this process that a previous mayor and council started 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago to the day, I think. So this is just trying to clean up the debris that was left behind by a previous council and a previous mayor. And to give Mr. Olney his chance to present his side. One more thing. There was a speaker this evening who seems to think that there's this dark force trying to close down the refuse department. I've not heard anybody on the council suggest that we want to shut down the refuse department or that we're looking for evidence that we can use to shut down the refuse department. It is the one department in the city that comes close to breaking even and might even make a very small profit. So nobody's out to close down the refuse department by making it look bad. This resolution tonight to have people put their trash in containers, that's what the initial plan was back in January, February, whenever that was that this came up and created such an uproar. This is what we've come to, and this is all it was about, was put your bag in a can so that the raccoons don't get in it, and it'll be, the community will look better. And we are going to have ways to label the cans so that you can still put your bag with a tag on it in a can and have it taken. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I understand that the interest in having a hearing is to allow me to have an opportunity to tell my side of the story, and that's what's been suggested. And I appreciate that. I understand, but see, what I have a problem with that is that this city has spent tens of thousands of dollars to keep me from telling my story, by redacting information that would have helped me to tell my story, by going and challenging me on a declaratory judgment that simply said, these are the events that happened, these are the things that were done to me. And so the city they had 7 lawyers going to court repeatedly, 21 filings, I had 2. I couldn't keep up. I spent $19,000 of my own money, and I'm still paying that off now, because I was denied a lawyer when Jeff Smith got a lawyer, secretly. We didn't know about that until I got the redacted invoices, which I still can't see. So all of this conversation about me being able to tell my story, it's just not true. Maybe you believe that. But what I see is the city is spending money to prevent me from telling my story. And the story is simple. Nothing happened. This was made up. Just like we just saw recently with the state police dismissing the case, a special prosecutor in St. Lawrence County coming out and saying nothing to it, we're not going to pursue it. And then the continued, well, just because they didn't prosecute, just because they didn't find something, doesn't mean something didn't happen. Yeah, it does. But see, that continues the narrative that helps some people politically. And the unfortunate part is, I had an opportunity to tell my story, but the ethics board never thought to include me, never thought to invite me, never asked me for my opinion. I didn't go there. I didn't go and tell them just exactly what I'm telling you now, that it was all political. That was it. And if you want to go back to the reasons and things that were stated in the ethics complaint, and then the things I've heard on the radio and repeatedly in the narrative that's been spread out there, $3.4 million, oh my God, for that? Well, if it had been made into housing, the value of the property up there would have been far greater than 3.4 million as housing along a golf course. But it was a decision that we made not to allow housing up there and to use it as parks, open spaces, a golf course, that kind of thing. Now, had it been sold as housing, if you'd have taken the appraisal that was done and looked at what they put a value on the property per acre up there, they figured that the value of the property was $7,500 an acre for parkland. I mean, look at Sunset Ridge. How much do you think an acre of land in Sunset Ridge would be worth? 7,000. You think you could go over there and buy an acre of land in Sunset Ridge up there, where all the rich people live, for $7,500? I don't think so. But that was the price that was put on in the estimate of what the appraisal was for the land in the park with 63 acres. Take 63 acres and multiply it times, I would say, even on the low side, 40,000 an acre. You're looking at $2.5 million. Simply for the land, not even including the businesses. People just, instead of looking at it clearly like I was, they were being told, look over here, look over here, look at Olney's got an ethics charge. You can't trust him. That's what this was all about, folks. And so, I get a chance to tell my story. I saw the argument made by John Powers from Estherbrook, who the city hired to prevent me from winning in court a declaratory judgment that simply said, what happened, happened. It was very clear. There was no money being asked for. It was a declaratory judgment stating that this is what happened, that I was denied due process. There was an email that came from our attorney that stated there was a critical omission, and we weren't allowed to talk about it at this because it was confidential information. Because it was claimed that only us, as somebody said so eloquently before, that we can talk about things openly in that back room, which is not where we should be talking about these things. We should be talking about them out here, so no one of you can come up with a misunderstanding about what went on back there. But that's used for a reason, folks. And the reason is this: it is unfortunate that that's what we have. Okay? And I would love to tell my story, and I have told it. But unfortunately, every time something comes out to actually verify the facts that this is all that happened, nothing else happened, I've got Jeff Smith and you, Mayor, coming out and saying, well, just because they said that nothing happened doesn't mean something nefarious didn't happen. So we keep the narrative alive. And guess what? It's almost election time. They've got me off the ballot. They've done everything they can to smear my name. And all they did was want to come in here and help this city grow. And all the things I tried to do, many of them have been blocked. Luckily, we've been able to do some of them. I haven't got a skateboard park yet, but I'd like to. And there's a lot of things on this list. I said to a friend of mine today, I spent so much of my time this year writing declaratory judgments, writing responses to get back on the ballot, going to the court. They can tell them, Mr. Gates, he's here. Seriously, do you think you're gonna sue this city? Go right ahead. They will spend $100,000 and some $1,000 to defend nothing. Because I wasn't asking for money. I was asking for the truth. And if it's the truth you're looking for, and you think you're gonna find it in a hearing with 3 people who already have their minds made up about what they think I did, is my opinion, that's not gonna be the truth. That's gonna be a kangaroo court, and I would rather take it right out through to the end of the year, and then we'll just see where it goes. Because the only thing I can think of that this city and its lawyers are believing that hearing would make a difference in is that it would dot the I's and cross the T's, because what the judge said, quite frankly, was that my case wasn't right, and that not having a hearing would make it right. I can do math too. But what I can also tell you is this: that case was right the very day that this council and our city clerk read the decision by the ethics board stating that they found me guilty with never even having me come in there and testify, without even hearing from me at all. And it was read and it was pronounced here that I was guilty and that you should start the hearing to have me sanctioned or removed. That was their decision. Now, they say, okay, that was just advisory. That wasn't advisory. That was absolutely, that was it. It was done. That was the hearing, and I wasn't invited to it. And unfortunately, all of this is all coming out now, so it's gonna be really interesting to see what the state of New York says about it, and the comptroller, and everybody else. All right, so we'll have justice, I think, and we'll have truth. And I'm not gonna stop. Even if I get put out of office, if I don't succeed and get elected back in there, I will continue. And then I will run for a position the next time as well, to come back in and finish doing what I set out to do, where I was distracted. We sat and we talked in the beginning, and I told you this is what I'd like to do. And you and I agreed on those things. And all I've seen for the last 2 years is obstruction, and it's unfortunate. So I just want to say, that's what I think about getting to the truth. The city spent a lot of money keeping the truth from coming out. I think it's ironic and hypocritical for us to sit here and discuss the truth. I got the truth. I've been telling everybody the truth. I have no problem coming out here and saying just what needs to be said. It's everybody else that has a problem with that. And that's truly unfortunate, because when money determines what the truth is going to be and what's being said publicly, that's what we've got for government here. And that is not right. So the homeless issue, we went up, I went up on the new homeless shelter, the 63 units, and saw what was going on. I did a couple of videos. If you want to see what I saw inside, you're welcome to look on my Facebook page. I've heard a lot of comments about the city providing shelter for the homeless, and it's inviting or encouraging people to come here. I'm hoping that St. Lawrence County and Lewis County are going to step up and do something themselves. I think the county and the city here should evaluate Mr. Smail's offer for the homeless shelter to have something permanent, because the biggest problem that I see with the homelessness right now is they do not have a permanent place, a locker to put their stuff so they can leave, and where they can padlock it and not have to push it down the streets. We won't see people, as many at least, if we have a place for them to put their belongings in a locker. They won't be pushing the shopping carts down the street. Okay, we also need some place for them to keep their service dogs, if they're a service dog. They don't allow them at the 3 warming areas. Now, I agree with the warming areas. I think it's great. We've come that far, but we need to do more, and winter is coming. Mr. Smail has offered the building like he did back in, I think, 2023. I think we should consider it, and I think we should reach out to the county. And as far as the refuse, there's a huge potential there for more money. You know, we need to market it. We need to put a logo on the side of the truck that looks nicer. We got some creative people here. I know in the planning department, I see the memes that go out to advertise skating and other things like that. Whoever's doing that is doing an excellent job. And they ought to be put to work to come up with a logo that goes on our trucks, that goes on our containers. And I want you all to know, and for the public to know, I did not vote for an increase in the sticker price. I did not vote for a tax increase. And it wasn't my purchase or my willingness to go out and build a pool on the north side for the young kids over there, or to buy more parkland that caused your property taxes to go up. It has been a lack of vision by the city to look for new revenue in other places than in your pocket by charging more in taxes. And that's the truth. So, and I think in closing, I would like to say, I sent in a request today about the marijuana zoning and also the possible planning, and I see that it's in the works to be discussed and looked at. It was not my intention, Mr. Wagnauer and I talked about this, to cast a wide net. It wasn't my intention, and I realized that it could have been taken that way. I was just having an interview with TV7 earlier about that. And in the meantime, what I did instead, because I knew it was a short time, I just got the call this morning about the interview, so I didn't know what I was talking about. So I called Brandon Blunt, who was the guy that's looking at Shannon Expert's property on Arsenal Street, about what they're gonna do. They're gonna put in for a variance, right? And so that can proceed. It was my concern that because, as we've seen sometimes in the city, politics play a role with certain appointments to boards and that could be used to stop progress, I think. And we saw some of that be done, I think, when Stewart's was being considered on Washington Street. And it was, I think, the majority, and you joined us, to make sure that Stewart's was built on Washington Street, and it's been a good asset. So I didn't want to see, I wasn't sure it was going to, I don't want to jump to any conclusions, Mr. Wagoner. So thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it. And if I missed something, there's a lot of things on here, but I've taken up more time, as I've done throughout my time the last 2 years, on ethics and ethics. There's so much more we could have done. But somebody had just a vindictive way about him. He could not accept a vote that went 3-2 against what he didn't want to see up there. That's all it was. And yet here we are. And anyway, thank you.
Councilwoman? Thank you. I want to mention, I know you mentioned, Councilman, you mentioned the trash, and that was one of the reasons why I pushed for opening it up to commercial business, because the city, refuse has that capacity to be able to expand it, and I think if it meant more revenue, it certainly will help the department and help in terms of the future costs of trucks. I'd be curious to see how that works, and I'm hoping that that commercial businesses will be calling and asking questions about rates and step up and actually use the city services for that. Mr. Tehanika, I agree. I would like to make the right call. I would like to see how we can persuade the county to work together on, and this is a temporary shelter. You mentioned permanent, I think. But it's just temporary until the housing would open across the street, which I think is in March. And it did work before. I saw it with my own eyes, and I remember back when it was opened, it was when we were going to get, or it was during the 2 feet of snow that was coming, and it was right around Thanksgiving. And so we got to see people in the community come together and actually work on a Thanksgiving dinner, work on a Christmas dinner, because these people had nowhere else. And I understand the pros and cons. I understand that there are some people who choose to be homeless, but either way, I think it would help centralize where they are. It may help the various agencies to know where they are, so that they can come to them for whatever services that they might need. But at least until March, it would provide a temporary place for them to be out of the elements. SG Gates, it's kind of hard to work with somebody when he demands that he wants a dog park, but then says, I'll sue you if you don't do it. And he wants it to be on city property. And I think since I've been on council 8 years, it just keeps coming up. And at one point, I want to say maybe 4 years ago, give or take, we had an agreement with the community foundation in terms of how to start the fundraising, and a location was located, and Mr. Gates was in that meeting, and within 24 hours, he did a 180 and then said, nope, I can't agree to that. Because we were looking at adding anything above and beyond his fundraising goal to go towards potential maintenance of the dog park, as far as fencing and the water that's going to be there, was going to be there, and so forth. And he didn't agree to that, and that was the end of that. And that, if he had stuck with it, it might actually be here today, but it's because of him. I mean, we had people that were willing and able to work with him, but he changed everything to his demands. It had to be where he wanted it. It had to be what he wanted, and he was dictating to the city what's going to happen on city land. And I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. So he can come and threaten to sue and whatnot, but he's been doing that for years too. So we tried, and it didn't work. I did want to mention, because sometimes people seem to forget, or they think the council or the city dictates where development goes in the city or where housing goes, and we don't. I mean, it's basically, does it meet the zoning? Does it, you know, if they go through the planning commission and their proposal gets passed there, then it moves on. We can't dictate to what a private property owner wants to do with their land if they meet all the criteria to make it happen. So I think some people believe that we have the power to control the number of smoke shops. Unfortunately, we don't at this time because of the current zoning, and I would like to see that changed. I would like to see if there's a way to limit that, but we don't have that. We don't have that ability. I'm just looking through my notes. And Councilman Kimball, you mentioned the previous council and mayor brought the complaint in terms of the ethics. That's wrong. It was one person, former Mayor Smith, who's the one who spent the $19,000 using Harris Beach to draft his complaint, to preside over the actual ethics meeting, and Harris Beach drafted the findings from that, even though they're named in one of the ethics complaints. They should have recused themselves. So one person caused $19,000 to be spent. It wasn't council. We didn't know until not too long ago what the actual cost was. All we know is that it was already done. It was written up when the former mayor asked for an emergency meeting of the ethics board to get that through. So the city council did not pass a resolution or vote on that at all. So we should have had some say, but we were obviously kept out of the loop, so we had no say. So I just wanted to clear that up. Saturday was Patriot Day at the Legion. They always do a wonderful job. I know the mayor and myself and Mr. Wagner, you were there. They always, it's nice how they always recognize our military, both retired, deceased, and current. You know, and I think that they keep that alive. They keep the memory alive of past wars, past soldiers, and I commend them and the VFW as well for what they do for our soldiers. The Bravo Fest, I know some of us went there. It was the 40th anniversary, another wonderful event. It's nice to see how far they've come along with that festival. Councilman Olney, you mentioned something about Sunset Ridge. Actually, I know that there was a half acre that was for sale on Woodside Drive, and that was for $50,000 in the town of Watertown. That was never used as a comp. I will say, I do want to ask, when we were given the information last week during the work session about the renovation costs for the building and the courtroom, is there a number broken out for the courtroom cost? Is that separated out?
Like between the courtroom costs, excuse me, Councilman, for the breakout between the courtroom costs and what the city hall costs are for us, like the HVAC
Yes.
system? I think, I get you, I don't know if we have an exact number yet, but I think it was about 1.5 million of the 800, or 8 million plus was for the city hall part of that. The HVAC system, some of the insulation, some of the windows downstairs.
Okay. Alrighty, thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilman?
Thank you. I do agree with the councilwoman. It is difficult to want to do any business with somebody who is threatening litigation. You know, we have that threat here, we have it in other places, so yeah, it makes us uncomfortable to want to make any agreement with anybody that's threatening us with litigation constantly. So, you know, that's a deterrent for sure. It's definitely not how you make a deal. And as far as, I know personally, I have brought forward some ideas about zoning changes. We can make changes to zoning. And I've made these, you know, out of frustration for the usage of our properties in the city and to defend the use of the city's property, taxpayers' property, land, so that we don't end up with things that we don't want, or so that we keep losing taxable property value. We can make those changes to zoning, but, you know, I can propose something, but I need support on that too. And generally, if I'm gonna propose a change of zoning, it's for a good reason. It's not because I'm, you know, anti this or that. I'm pro-city and pro-tax base. I would have loved to see 10 or 15 or 20 new homes being built in the city, but it's, you know, at this point, it's most likely unrealistic. Other than that, I have a couple of things, you know, privilege of the floor tonight about the, about the smoke shops and stuff. That's a thing that we could change in zoning as far as where they are legally located to go. We can't outlaw them. That's, you know, it's not within our realm, but we can restrict them. And I think that's what we need to do, at least try to make the neighborhoods as safe as possible for the residents and the users. For whatever businesses that are allowed in the city, they should be in the correct area. So we can definitely do something about that. I'm sorry, I scribbled all over this thing, so I'm working on it. The splash pad at the park is closed for a week for repairs, but the north side pool splash pad is open. It's going to be hot, so take advantage of that while the weather's still nice. We have, privilege of the floor, the 100 block of Arsenal Street. They changed that to one way in, one way out a few years back. I was critical of that at the time, and I still feel the same way. I think that it shouldn't have been choked down to a turn lane all the way until you almost get into the square. I can understand the pedestrian safety issues down there, but those haven't changed even with that turn lane in the center. I think it probably shouldn't have stayed that way at the time. It was going to be an interim test to see what happened, and it turned out it was just a full-time change. I do agree with changing that back, although traffic through the square is going to be difficult no matter what. I really would like to see the bus depot moved off of the Arcade Street corner and possibly somewhere with less traffic, less hecticness. I've proposed behind, well, not behind GBYs, I call it Steinbach, or Steinbach, whatever it was pronounced, but back there, because that's close enough to Public Square, it's very low traffic, I think it would be safer for pedestrians, and it's still centrally located. But that would cost money too, and I know we're spending a lot of money. We have, sorry, one thing that, with the grants, I'm happy we got $1 million grant for water. But let's put this in perspective. 2 homeless shelters or housing facilities in Watertown are proposed or being built right now. Each one of them received over $14 million per building of grant money for approximately 120 people, 150 people. We have 60,000 users to our water service, and we are excited for the fact that we got $1 million. You know, the reality of how government operates is from the reality of real life is a huge distortion. I mean, I'll keep saying it. Government generally doesn't work for the taxpayer. It works for itself. There's special interest involved. There's nonprofits that make an awful lot of money that are getting this money, and we can't get it for something as simple and basic as drinking water, and that just makes me uncomfortably irritated. So, and you know, you should call your state assemblyman or your governor or whoever's thought that spending $14 million on this 60 housing unit thing or this 41 and not giving us a reasonable amount of water or money for our water system, you know, get a hold of them and say, you know, you're terrible at your job. You should let somebody else do it. You know, you're the reason people leave New York and don't want to come back. And I agree. I would love to see a listing of where these people that are homeless in Watertown right now, I would love to see where they are from. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are from here. But, you know, if we're doing an intake form for anybody, and we don't because we don't have a Department of Health, the city doesn't have a social services division, the county does. But, you know, is the question asked, where did you come from? And if you didn't come from here, why did you come here? Because to move to be homeless, it's unusual, but the more things I hear, it's an accurate depiction of what's going on here because of the types of services are offered. So I would love to see that. I'd love to see those numbers. Give me numbers. I'd like to see the metrics on it. And if people are moving here to be homeless, you know, let's try to find out why they can't stay where they are being homeless. But, you know, there's another government part of this issue is New York State closed an awful lot of mental health facilities and an awful lot of prisons and released a lot of people early that shouldn't have been released. And now, and it's an intentional play by the state, if they release them, you're now part of the responsibility of whatever municipality you land in, and you're no longer a responsibility of the state. You know, they can waste your money somewhere else. Because they didn't take the savings from closing 10 prisons and 10 mental health facilities and give it back to the taxpayers in New York if you paid any attention to the state budgets over the last 5 or 10 years. You know, that's not happening. So hopefully someday I'll come in here and be happy on a Monday. I think in the middle of October is our Harvest Festival, correct?
End of September.
Oh, it's the end of this?
26, 27, and 28 September.
A lot of stuff going on at the end of the month. Are we still accepting vendors for that or applications for vendors?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so get a hold of Scott Weller, Parks and Rec, or Jimmy Scordo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think it'll be a very nice event. Hopefully, people take advantage of it, especially while it is still nice out, although it is nice here in the wintertime if you like cold stuff. And the ice is in at the arena too, so I'm assuming skating will start at some point.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll publish the open skating. Right now, the JCC team's already been on the ice this weekend and had a couple games and some practices, so we're ready to go.
All right, very good. And another privilege of the floor issue. Civil disagreement is completely fine with me, but to come in and swear at anybody sitting up here or anybody in the audience, I think is, you know, you don't belong here. Until you can conduct yourself in a reasonable manner, don't come to the meeting. Right? I asked people to come to the meeting, and I know this was an issue for some people. Believe me, I understand how difficult it is to speak in a forum like this. It is not easy. But if that's the only way you can eloquate yourself, then, you know, keep it in. Maybe go see a counselor. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to piggyback off of that, that was one of the first things that I was going to mention is I felt that that was wholly inappropriate, the way that our police officers were characterized, as well as the way that our city manager's ride along with the police was characterized. He did that as a way to see firsthand what our officers are going through when they're on the job. And so I think everybody would join me in thanking him for taking the time to do that. A couple other points I wanted to make. Regarding the homeless, I have spoken with the county recently. They've told me that they're confident they have the winter-related needs of that population covered between the Salvation Army facility and New Life. If an individual wants to open a shelter, they have the space for a shelter. There's nothing preventing an individual from doing so. We went on a visit to St. Lawrence County. When was that, last year, where there was a shelter that was started by an individual there who was passionate about that cause. So if somebody wants to start a homeless shelter and feels that there's a need, they're certainly welcome to do so. But again, I've spoken with the county about what they anticipate for the winter. They've said that they feel that they have it covered. They've been doing a lot of work on this issue, connecting people with resources, et cetera. So until we hear otherwise, I think that we're doing what we can and continuing to work with them. Also wanted to mention, I sent everybody an email today about the 100th anniversary of the VFW on Bellow Ave. That's going to be toward the end of October. They're going to be doing a dinner and a cake cutting ceremony. I think it's the last weekend, so if you haven't checked your email yet, check your email. The public is invited to attend as well. Lastly, before we close, I wanted to just take a minute and read a statement regarding something that I think has been on my mind, as well as a lot of people in the community's mind over the past week or so, past couple years, I'd say even. I'm deeply saddened by the senseless and horrific events of last week and by the fact that in recent years, violence has become all too common across our nation. Whether we agree or disagree with one another's political views, there is no justification for violence, period. Disagreement is part of democracy, debate is part of democracy, but violence undermines everything we stand for as Americans. We also need to remember that freedom of speech is one of our most sacred rights, but exercising that freedom comes with responsibility. Celebrating the death of another human being, no matter who they are or what they stood for, is not acceptable. Words on all sides of the political spectrum have power, and when rhetoric becomes hateful or extreme, it fuels division and anger instead of understanding. Simply put, as a community and as a country, we need to turn down the temperature. We need to respect one another, even when we disagree. We need to listen more and shout less. And we need to remind ourselves that what makes this country and our community strong is not that we think alike, but that we can live together peacefully despite our differences. Tonight, I would urge everybody to recommit to that principle. My hope and my prayer is that as a nation, we strive for more respect, civility, and peace. As mayor, I pledge to do my part to foster that spirit here in our community, and I hope you will join me in that effort. And with that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mayor, I move that we move into executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular individual or corporation.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Call the question.
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Only?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggiero?
Yes.
Councilmember Sean?